15,000 tons of dry cement, steel wrapped in a single package. This is economy in action. This is thinking big. This is the Moran combination of tug and barge. Angela, Alexandria, and Adelaide. These are the sister barges that keep Atlantic cement silos well stocked from New England to Florida and beyond. This is Alexandria. While Moran towing experts were assisting in the development of these barges, they planned and had built powerful and extremely maneuverable tugs to serve them. This is M. Moran. Twin screws, twin rudders, twin diesel engines, more than 3,500 horsepower, pilot house controls, to push, to tow, to maneuver. Barge Alexandria is larger than most ships, 17,500 gross tons, 420 feet long, 80 feet wide. She is unmanned and automated. With a full cargo from her loading depot at Ravenna, New York, she is bound south. For the sea leg of the voyage, tug M. Moran has shifted to towing hawser. At sea, all the power the tug can exert is transmitted through a steel towing cable. Sea conditions dictate its towing length. Short in a calm sea, long in a rough sea, with hundreds of feet in reserve. Aboard the barge at sea, only the hum of generators fills the silence between the lapping of waves and the sound of the wind. 24 hours a day, auxiliary diesel engines provide power for running lights, ballast and bilge pumps, the remote-controlled anchor drop, and other safety devices. A strong breeze and a fair sea press Alexandria to starboard, but the huge barge bends to the tug's ample power and keeps a steady course. With magnetic compass and with gyro compass, with direction finder and with Lawrence, with radar and with radio, Moran's master mariners pinpoint their progress and maintain schedules on coastal runs. On time, M. Moran nears Cape Henry and her first port of call, Norfolk, Virginia. In Chesapeake Bay, she will shorten her hawser, drop the barge's remote-controlled anchor, unshackle her tow line, and return to Alexandria's stern notch for the long push inland. In Norfolk's busy harbor, M and Alexandria are met by one of Curtis Bay Towing's Blue Diamond fleet tugs. The additional tug may be needed, for ahead, a winding course, narrow channels, and many bridge abutments demand utmost accuracy in navigation. In harbors, bays, or on rivers, tug and barge work as a single unit. Put pressure on her twin rudders and the barge swings. Throttle down on her engines and the barge slows. Back down and she stops or goes astern. A touch of the wheel or throttle by the hand of an expert ensures safe passage. One by one, the bridge spans are threaded. At the narrowest of them all, careful judgment of the flow of water and of wind and a light touch on the tug's controls eases the huge bulk through the gap. Standing tall, Atlantic's great silos loom ahead. Before the final swing in the river, deckhands have readied lines which will snub the barge to a standstill alongside the cement company's steel and concrete docks. Heaving lines are tossed. Checking lines are made fast. The barge is slowed. Stopped. Mooring cables go ashore and the barge's winches take up the slack. Automatic winches that adjust mooring lines to each rise and fall of the tide or load line. The barge-tug combination docks faster than a ship. With Alexander safely docked, discharge of her cargo begins, leaving M. Moran free to refuel, to take on stores, to change crews, or to further service the barge, sharing fuel, water, or electrical power, perhaps. Moran tugs are undaunted by the sea. Their carefully designed steel hulls and great power have earned them a solid reputation from far north to far south in both hemispheres. Approaching the mouth of the Savannah River, Moran again prepares to push inland by shortening hawser and by dialing a number on the automatic anchor drop control in her pilot house. The barge's anchor drops, holding Alexandria against the tide, while Moran reels in more tow line and deckhands prepare to unshackle the wire and anchor chain bridle. The towing cable is disconnected and the bridle slides over the tug's stern. It will be secured later by rope stop over the barge's bow. Free, Moran moves to the stern of Alexandria. Working methodically, deckhands secure the tug's bow tightly into the barge's notch. Lower the heavy, steel-pushing cables which have been lashed to the barge's stern while towing. Shackle them into similar cables on the tug, and finally, attach them to the main towing wire. Moran's automatic towing machine then draws them up tight, welding tug and barge together in a single unit. With Moran firm in the pushing notch, the anchor is weighed, and tug and barge get underway for the long 25-mile push up the winding river to Savannah. Late the following day, the Savannah cargo discharged, Moran pulls the towing bridle free of the barge's bow and prepares to turn her in the river. By sailing on shortened hawser, the tug need only to let out more of her cable when reaching the sea. With the river free of traffic, in a pre-sounded wide area, the barge begins her swing close to shore. By leaving headway on the barge and by working with the river's current, Moran swings the huge Alexandria in almost her own length and heads her again seaward. The tug-barge combination is most flexible. Any port may be first or last, depending upon the need for the product carried. Here in Jacksonville, Alexandria is discharging the last of her cargo. Deep in the barge's bow compartment are two 2,100 horsepower diesel engines, spinning generators which power huge air compressors. Her cargo of cement is aerated and literally blown out of the barge. The rate, 1,000 tons an hour. Discharge hoses are barge equipment. They are returned to the barge after each operation. Late that evening, Moran undocks Alexandria. Unassisted, she turns her downstream towards the sea. Well away from Jacksonville, tug and barge climb a northern course. Light of cargo, Alexandria dances her tethered way astern through squalls and rolling seas. The sea bills, sea legs tense, and all hands make ready for a blow. A close watch is kept on the barge, on the insistent steel tow line, and on the speed of the powerful engine. And the complacent tug again finds towing ideal. With her towing cables feeling little strain, lost time is rapidly made up. Moran and Alexandria again return to New York. Deckhands unshackle her towing cable for the 140-mile push up the Hudson. Ravenna, New York, the main loading depot just below Albany on the Hudson. The big 500-ton capacity hopper at dockside is fed by a conveyor belt from giant kilns at the main plant, a mile and a half inland. From a movable overhead chute, through 52 scuttles on the barge, various grades of cement are gravity-fed. Back on schedule, Alexandria rounds the final bend in her upriver trip. Moran has pushed through the night, making up lost time. Using the power of her twin engines and the control of her twin screws and rudders, M turns the barge in the river above the docking area. Linemen are ready for stern lines and headlines. M's strong backing power pulls against the current of the river and the barge is eased to the dock. As lines are made fast, M holds her steady. With Alexandria docked and with her pushing cables released, M backs away and into the notch of another barge. With no loss of time, the loaded Angela is pulled into midstream to begin another voyage, to serve other ports, to return again for another cargo.